Let's talk about the Summer League takeaways in their loss, unfortunately, to the Miami Heat on Saturday night. I am your host of Celtics Today by Chat Sports, Allie Barefoot, and I was actually live for this ball game. Saw a lot of pros, saw a few cons that worry me a little bit about some guys that are returning, but we're going to break that down here on today's show. First things first, I hate losing the Miami Heat. If you guys do too, well, spam F Rolly. Nick Roloff is our host of the Heat Report here at Chat Sports, and if you guys know, then you know. Type F Rolly. We love him. He's a great friend. But when it comes to Miami versus Boston Celtics, you know it's always F Rolly. All right, let's get to the takeaways here, shall we? This was the rookie debuts. This is when we got to see Baylor Scheierman and Anton Watson do their thing since first being selected in round 1 and round 2 of the NBA draft. My first takeaway here, Baylor Scheierman is really good at basketball. Just really good. We knew this, obviously, but he really got to showcase a lot of different skill sets in the first game of Summer League. This kid's got a long way to go, but the fundamentals are there. And when I was watching Baylor Scheierman, he was obviously the guy I was most intrigued to watch, as he was pick number 30 in round 1 here. He missed a few early threes that were kind of wide open, and he did make some unusual fouls, but he said after the game, look, he was really nervous. I mean, the kid is now starting to move on from practice, starting an NBA Summer League, so he's got to get some nerves out of the way. That's totally understandable. He finished with 13 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists. The assists were what got me. I love the catch and shoot 3. We knew that when he was drafted, but the assists, the type of court vision that he has, is going to be wonderful when he does earn some minutes here for the Boston Celtics. Another thing that I really enjoyed watching, but it took me a little bit of a surprise, is his lefty shot. Having that lefty three-point shot, it looks weird. I'm going to be honest, his shot form is kind of ugly, but it works for him, and that's okay. I think we got very used to watching Sam Hauser just be very smooth with it, very effortless, because when he is catch and shoot, it's this one motion. Scheierman being on the left side, it's a little different when he's getting something from the top of the three-point line and then bringing it here. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to adjust to it, but overall, his shot does fall, even when you think it's not going to. Scheierman, after the game, talked about the assist part of his game, which, like I said, I really enjoy. He said, I've said it multiple times, but I'd rather get an assist than score a bucket, especially if it's like a cool pass. I'm always looking for my teammates and trying to get them open shots. My favorite play from Baylor Scheierman, an NBA Summer League. He was driving with his left down to the basket, a nice backdoor bounce pass to Anton Watson. He weaved that pass in between 2 Miami Heat defenders for a beautiful Anton Watson layup in 2 points. I mean, just having the rookies, the draft picks connect like that, but also seeing Baylor Scheierman, it was almost a no-look pass as well, still keeping an eye on the rack and then dishing it right behind him. It was beautiful. And speaking of Anton Watson, just knowing when to get that pass, he was really impressive as well. I know being a second-round pick, he's not going to have as much flash or as much publicity as Baylor Scheierman was, but you got to give this man credit. The one thing I loved about Anton is that he fits in perfectly with the Stay Ready group. He came off the bench and immediately was an asset on the court. Here's what he did against the Miami Heat. He had 8 points, 2 boards, 2 blocks, and he went 4 for 7 from the field. 4 for 7 was not bad. He was not a starter. He came in on the second rotation, didn't play as much as Baylor Scheierman, but the 2 blocks were my favorite. It gave me very Derek White vibes and Al Horford vibes as well. These blocks were right off the glass, especially the one on Jaime Jacquez as he had to try to catch up with Jaime going up for a layup, met him at the glass, stopped that ball, gave it back to the offense to eventually end up scoring. So I see where he can make big plays. I also can see where he can grow, where he can really start to expand his playing time. And I do think the Maine Celtics is going to be the best place for Anton this season to really start to rev that up. So with that being said, pick one to play. If you guys want Baylor Scheierman to get some more minutes here for the Boston Celtics, more so off the bench in the Stay Ready group, type BS, which we did learn in our watch party on Saturday that spamming BS was super fun. Anton Watson, type AW. All right, let's talk about the second takeaway here. The backcourt is really stepping up. Not necessarily the backcourt that's going to be the star for the Boston Celtics, obviously with Derek White and Jrue Holiday. All of this is really just showing us who's the bench guys, who are the two-way guys, and who's going to run the G League team, the Maine Celtics. But I do think they're in really good hands with JD Davison and Jaden Springer. They led the way for Boston. The one thing I saw from Springer that stood out to me was the way that he was a floor general. It was giving me Derek White, Patty Mills, just somebody that understands that they're constantly moving. They're very aggressive, very fast type of players. And same thing with JD Davison. He had a couple of bad dribbles, a couple of bad fouls, and a couple of bad passes, but he started to come back with his scoring, with his rebounding, and started to get his footing more so towards the second half. Overall, Springer shouldn't be in Summer League. He shouldn't. He's just too good right now. Neither should Jaime Jaquez Jr., but who am I? But really, the reason why Springer is actually playing right now is because they didn't think they got him enough minutes in the regular season since picking him up from the trade deadline from the Philadelphia 76ers. So they just wanted to give him more reps. That's the only reason why he's playing in the Summer League right now, because, in my opinion, he shouldn't be. Not when he's leading the way for the Boston Celtics, 23 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Like I said, with how fast he is, I wasn't actually aware of the speed that he has from coast to coast, and I saw that a lot, not to mention, I did like his ball handling skills. He did really well weaving in that traffic. Needs to work a little bit better at his jump stop and his pull-up game. Same thing for JD Davison, but overall, when you're looking at a pretty dominant point guard here for both of these guys, I think they're going to get a lot of reps in Maine this season, and could possibly still be stay-ready players coming off the bench. Brad Stevens has high hopes for Jaden Springer, though, saying he also has a lot of growing to do to get better, and he's committed to that. He's got a long runway ahead of him, so we'll see how this year shakes itself out for him, see how it all fits with the team, but he's a guy that we believe in. He said the same thing about JD Davison, bringing him back for a two-way deal, so once again, you're just looking at kind of the depth chart for the Celtics moving forward into the 2024-25 season. And if you do want to have a Springer towards the second half, I do believe that if you have a large enough lead, he could be a very good commanding point guard to lead you to a victory. Not to mention Davison, showing promise after his recent two-way deal. He said immediately after the season, there is nowhere else I want to go. There is no other team that I want to play for. All I want to do is re-sign with the Boston Celtics, and Brad Stevens made that deal happen. He was the second leading scorer for the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. 19 points, 3 boards, 7 assists. More so towards the second half of the ballgame, he started to find his rhythm. The first half, I saw a couple of mistakes that I don't think he should have been making, but it could have been nerves. It could have been a lot of things playing with a new team. But here's what I loved. 6 for 7 from the field. He was 6 for 6 through the first 3 quarters. 3 for 3 from downtown. The man's accuracy was on point, and he knew when to take those shots. He was not just chucking them up for the hell of it. These shots were he created that open lane or that open shot for himself. And shout out to Neemias Queta and Anton Watson for being very good screeners to allow Davison to have those open shots as well. Knowing there are several guys coming back to the Maine G League team that just did go to the G League championship this last year. You got Neemias Queta, Jordan Walsh, Peterson. You've got JD Davison, Jaden Springer. Let me know who you guys are most excited to return to the Maine Celtics this upcoming season. And if you guys are still relishing in the fact the Boston Celtics are NBA champs, I wake up every single day and I feel a little bit lighter knowing the Celtics are champs. The number one thing I love about being champions is telling people that we are NBA champions. I love the thing that happened during the NBA Finals, NBA playoffs. New York Knicks out there saying, we want Boston. They didn't even get past Indiana. So they made a t-shirt out of it. You got Boston. You wanted them? You got it. On the back, it says, we got 18 banners to show for it. If you guys want this, go to chatsports.com/YouGotBoston. That's going to get you guys this shirt in Kelly green, or it's going to get you it in gray. Does not matter which one. Fanatics has it all. Just use that link, and if you guys have bad memory like I do, it'll be commented under this video down below. Click that link, chatsports.com/YouGotBoston. My third takeaway is going to be a little controversial here. Jordan Walsh, not that guy. And that's tough, man. It really is. But he's so young. That's why I think the G League may be his spot for a little while longer. And I know that Celtics fans love it. When Jordan Walsh gets in the game, he makes a three or he comes in and makes a play in the last minute of a regular season game. But he did not look good in the first game of Summer League. And that could just be one game. But you have to think he only had 1 year of college, and then he was the lone draftee for the Boston Celtics last year. He went 1 for 8 from the field and 0 for 6 from downtown. I mean, that's looking like Klay Thompson in a playoff game last year. I do think that's very unfortunate for Jordan Walsh, but I have started to see a couple of these things that's declining his level at the Boston Celtics G League team with Maine. And I do think that, once again, it's just one game. He could definitely still come back out there, but he was making stupid fouls. He was getting frustrated. You could see it on his face. His defense was a step behind. And not to mention, when you're a step behind on defense, that's what leads to stupid fouls. I do believe that another year with the Maine Celtics would definitely help, as he was a huge part of their success last year. But overall, in terms of trying to make way into this pretty deep Boston Celtics depth chart at the center position, it's going to be really tough for Jordan Walsh. And it just looked like the game was moving a little bit too fast for him. I mean, this is Summer League, and I still thought Jordan Walsh was a beat behind. And the Miami Heat, Jaime Jacquez Jr. was playing, but other than that, these are all guys that should be in the same area as Jordan Walsh is, and I just didn't see anything that stood out to me in a positive way. I saw a lot of negatives. They do play later tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time versus Los Angeles Lakers and Bronny James. I'll be watching just to see if that was a fluke or if we're starting to see Jordan Walsh really may not be him. And then the last thing is that they actually did just sign a player to an Exhibit 10 deal with the Boston Celtics to allow him to play with the Celtics for the rest of Summer League and potentially earn himself onto the Maine Celtics. This is actually going to be Ron Harper Jr. He signed a non-guaranteed training camp contract, as sources told Spotrac. I liked Ron Harper Jr. a lot. He came in, he was ready, he didn't need time to adjust to the level that was playing once he came off the bench. He came in alongside Ramsey. He was probably in the third rotation, not immediately off the bench, but I saw pretty good things here from Ron Harper Jr., mainly on the defensive side. I think the offense will start to come, but he's got the build, he's got the frame to be a pretty successful in the G League in the next couple of years. And I do think that when you sign an Exhibit 10 deal, you have a better chance of making that G League squad for the Boston Celtics. So I think Maine will probably be his stop this season, but you never know. I mean, he's got the name, Ron Harper, his dad obviously having a ton of experience in the NBA. And I saw no negatives from Ron Harper Jr., but definitely needs some time to grow. So I think this was a great pickup for Brad Stevens and the Celtics. So I'm excited to see what he does here in Maine. Couple other honorable mentions that I noticed while watching Game 1 of NBA Summer League. I love Drew Peterson. I am on the Drew Peterson wave. I love his tenacity. I love his speed. I love his defense. He plays hip to hip going up against forwards and guards. And I thought that was huge for Peterson, keeping very close to his man, especially when he got switched on a Jaime Jacquez Jr. Killian Tilly could be a good pickup for the Maine Celtics here. He played along with Anton Watson at Gonzaga. He also was very good on offense. He knew when to take that open three. Didn't make all of them, but he understood that when that screen was set for him, he took advantage of it on offense. And mostly, Neemias Queta is still good. It was a very Neemias Queta game. Most of his shots came from right around the rim, mainly a dunk. He's still blocking, not so much defending outside of the paint, but he is still a very big guy. Overall, Queta's still good, and I'm glad he's coming back to the Boston Celtics for 3 more years. And look, I love Summer League, man. It's a great time. Great way to showcase all the future talent. But I miss Tatum and Brown, White, Holiday, Porzingis, Horford, and the rest of them. If you're ready for the season to start already, go ahead and spam your shams in the comment section down below. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens with the Boston Celtics versus the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, NBA Summer League. So go on ahead, and all you got to do for me is hit that sub button.